Hello and welcome to the AI Business Leadership Podcast, where we speak to business leaders about all things artificial intelligence. I'm your host, Laura Nelson, Head of Product at Solved by AI, and today's guest is independent retail consultant Ian Scott. Hello, Ian.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming to speak with us. So Ian is a retail consultant with over 20 years experience, and he is also a Rethink Retail Top 100 retail influencer. So today we're going to hear about Ian's journey to where he is now, and we're also going to talk about the evolving interaction between humans and AI in the retail industry, how AI is enhancing in-store experiences and how it can empower retail staff. And we'll also get a little bit of Ian's take on what the future holds for AI in retail. So if you start us off, Ian, maybe just giving us a little bit of an idea of your background and how you got to where you are.
Certainly, I was involved in business development around retail and point-of-sale design agencies for about 20 years. And I was always fascinated with the physical space, which is still the biggest channel in retail by a large margin, but also the impact of customer experience and customer service within the physical space as well. For the last 4 years, I've been an independent consultant working with brands, retailers and technology suppliers, looking at trends and innovations and evolution of the physical retail landscape as well.
Okay, great. So, and in terms of that evolution that we talked about and that connection between humans and AI, how have you seen the interaction between humans and AI evolving in the retail industry?
Well, I think there's been huge talk. I mean, you can't go to any exhibition or conference or event in retail at the moment without the main focus being AI. And I'm often, particularly when we're looking at the physical store, I tend to be cautious about this because to me, the store offers three unique aspects that none of the digital channels can offer. One is face-to-face contact with another human. And COVID taught us the value of social interaction because we were deprived it for so long and appreciated it in many ways now. The second one is the ability to touch and feel products. And this is particularly beneficial in certain categories. We may want to pick, for example, our own fresh fruit and vegetables in a store, may want to try on clothes to feel the fabric and see the fit. Even things like sofas, sitting on a sofa or lying on a bed to get a sense of what it will feel like in our own home. And this is something that stores can't have a unique aspect around that digital can't compete with. And the third one is peripheral vision. When we're online, it's a very binary transaction. We look for one product. We may see a few supporting things at the bottom, but when you go into a store, the whole lot is just there in front of you. And I often say that humans are magpies, we like shiny new things. So the ability to upsell is quite unique. So to me, AI should enhance those unique aspects of the store, not replace them. I've read about stores, particularly in the Middle East, where they're unmanned and everything's just digital screens. And I just look at that and think, why are you paying rent for a website? It seemed crazy because you've removed the benefit of the physical space. So I think AI needs to enhance those attributes. If you replace customer-facing staff or remove the ability to touch and feel products or to see everything else, to my mind, you've lost that benefit of the physical store, which is still 3/4 of all sales in the world.
Mm-hmm. So going more on a way of AI augmenting human interactions in a retail setting then?
Yes, I think so, because we need to take those unique elements, enhance them. So if you can free up time for staff so they can do more of that customer facing interaction, that's a good thing. AI is brilliant at repetitive automated processes, gathering data, capturing information, turning it into useful solutions, but let the humans be talking to other humans as much as possible. So I think that's where the real benefit of AI coming through into stores is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what are some ways then that you think that you've seen that AI can do that, can augment those human interactions?
One example that immediately springs to mind is the fabulous the Fragrance Shop store on Oxford Street. They opened a new concept about 6-7 months ago, I believe, and they have quite a unique machine in the window. from a company called Every Human. And the idea is you scan a QR code and you fill in a lifestyle report, and it will generate 3 bespoke fragrances based on your lifestyle answers. And I love this idea of the AI personalizing things, but within a physical experiential space. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a great example. The machine in the window is very industrial looking, and they chose not to make it look pretty. It's, it's stainless steel with exposed welds, and there's a conveyor belt, and it looks like something taken out of a science lab experiment. So it catches your eye, and then you fill in the questionnaire, and there's a bit of theatre where you have the little sample bottles along the conveyor belt, and there's 45 raw ingredients in big glass jars, and they all inject into the bottle. And I love how AI personalizes that. I tried it and I loved all 3 of the fragrances that they suggested for me. And in fact, I'm going to reorder one this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that because it was embracing the best of the physical space and using AI to enhance it, both from a technical point of view, but a sense of fun as well. People, when I show them this machine, just leave with a big smile on their face, and they've scanned the QR code, and they're going to go and give it a go as well. So I think that's a particularly good example.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I suppose that, a human could do, but it would be very time intensive, very labor intensive, and therefore quite cost intensive to do.
I mean, the questionnaire takes about 15 minutes to fill in, but you can scan the QR code and go home and do it, or you can
Yeah.
stay in the shop. Whereas if a human was doing that, you could only do one customer at a time, whereas the QR code in the AI allows 1,000 people to do it all one at a time. And then they combine it with the physical theatre of creating the samples for you as well. It seems to be like a 1 + 1 = 3, as I would call it, greater than the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of customer experience, then as well, obviously that's a great example of kind of using AI in the physical space. But in terms of general customer experience, have you seen any good examples of companies, or retailers successfully integrating AI?
Yes, I think, again, customer facing, a wonderful example I saw in Sephora in Chicago last month, and it was an example of how they use skin scanning technology to analyze your skin. So they have this machine, they press it against your face, and you have these very scary, detailed, deep dive images of your skin. But what I really like is the technology will do the analysis and let you know if you have dry skin or oily skin, or if your skin care is not right. But then the member of staff takes that information and then contextualize it into recommendations for actual products as solutions. So there's a sense of fun and theatre, but then the humans then take that and translate it into sales, which is very important. You don't just want theatre. We have a lot of people going, oh, the physical store is all about experience. And I'm going, no, it's 3/4 of sales as well. You still got to sell stuff. So I love it when you can have that sense of fun and discovery in theatre, but it translates into a meaningful qualified purchase. And I think Sephora are brilliant at that, although it does rely on good staff. And I saw 3 members of staff in the Chicago store using this. They were all incredibly well trained around the understanding of the information, but also the product knowledge to go, well, these are some of the products that work really well. I've used this, my colleague uses that. And they sort of qualify the transition into a purchase that you're willing to make because you have a bit of technology that does the analytics, and then the reality of human experience that gives you a credible recommendation you're willing to buy at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned about earlier about 3/4 of retail sales still happening in physical stores, and we quite often have discussions on this podcast about how it's actually not about AI. It's about your business processes. It's about your salespeople, your operations. So that makes sense. It's actually, yes, the AI it can be a real good a tool and a helper and an improvement, but actually it comes down to your salespeople and your processes in that physical retail space.
Yeah, it's not a solution, it's an enabler. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I think most technology is like that. The key roles that I see, particularly in the physical space, are the ability to gather data and understand. You can scan empty shelves and reorder stock, knowing what's needed. I know that McDonald's, for example, use AI to analyze the weather, traffic conditions, local events, and things like that to help them plan how many Big Macs to start cooking at the start of a shift. So the AI isn't the solution, it's the enabler, and then you implement that by making 20 burgers instead of 10 because there's an event and there'll be more footfall, for example. And it shouldn't replace the things. And the other side, I think, where AI works well is personalization. That ability to know the history of someone, be able to contextualize that browsing, buying, searching history and turn it into recommendations, right time, right place. So to me, it's that the logistical, tactical support and the personalization that combine. But then, as you say, and as I've been saying, step back and let the humans do that human interaction, which adds the depth, the warmth, and the meaning.
And it's kind of on that train of thought. How would you sort of advise businesses to get that balance right? Because we talked about there's some areas like things like stock management where there is quite a good ability to replace kind of quite labor intensive, tedious tasks with an AI, and then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is the in-store interactions where AI is very much a tool to be used by people and not to replace people in store. How do you kind of get the right balance? How do you know which is which, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, I often say to retailers, sort of understand where you want to be. And it's surprising how many people don't know where they want to be. What type of business do you want to be? What type of products? What type of customers? And that's your end game, your benchmark against which you test any idea. And then also understand where you are now. It's that classic, pre and post sort of test. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? Where are the gaps? And I think there are then two routes and opportunities. One is assessing where the gaps are. Do we have enough staff? Are they well trained enough? What tools and resources can we do to help? How can we maximize the use of the staff in meaningful ways? How can we use technology to support them? That may mean a reduction in staff so that all the customer facing stuff is staff and the technology, or you may want to mix. Then the other thing is the proactive elements where new ideas come out that you aren't aware of. Because if you have this gap analysis and you go, right, we need to fill that, unless you know what the options are, you don't know, which is why it's good to go to events, keep an eye on what's going on, because there may be new ideas that create a fresh approach that you hadn't considered. So it's knowing the gaps in where you want to get to and reversing back. And every idea is, will this help us achieve that objective? Providing your objective and your strategy are etched in stone and you agree on it, then you just test it again. Will this add to that and help us get to there? If not, then question whether you do it. And then if a new idea you've never heard of comes along, you go, well, is this a way we can integrate as well? That very simplistic sort of methodology, but it's quite hard for people to always step back and implement.
But again, it's very, you could apply that to all sorts of different areas of business and project management, anything like that. It's not something that's sort of specific to AI, really. It's good business sense, I think.
It's like a generic methodology, and AI is a great one because it is funny. So many people have got so excited about technology, and I roll my eyes. Everyone goes, "This is the future of retail." Nothing is the future of retail. AI is a fascinating tool and it's an advancement in technology, but that is a solution to one part of one element of retail. It isn't the future. It's a massive potential because its ability to evolve on its own terms once you set it up and program it to go out and look. That's the uniqueness of it, but it still is only a tool to enable and support other aspects of the business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And maybe just going back a little bit to we were talking about personalization. So that's something that you see as a key tool for physical in-store staff, that personalization that an AI tool can bring.
I think it can. A lot of people are talking about both experience and personalization as the future of the store. And again, I'm going, it's not, because a lot of our store stuff is just simple replenishment. We bought something and we want to buy it again. You come in and that's about minimizing friction, maximizing availability, sort of frictionless approach. So I think, you need to look at how the personalization can assist where relevant. Too many people decide how they want their shoppers to shop and impose it on them. What you need to do is understand the various shopping missions and need states that customers have. I have a friend, Richard Hammond, runs a company called Uncrowd, and they look at relative attractiveness and they mission things out. And in grocery, I think they came up with 400 potential shopping missions of why you're coming into the store. You know, there are multiple opportunities. Some personalization will help, some won't. So again, this is reversing into how your customers want to shop. But I love the idea of, you know, coming into a store and then going, hello, Mr. Scott, nice to see you. Nice to see you back in the store again. Is there anything we can help? I'd just like to make you aware of these things, knowing how I've done certain things. Now, that is great if you're in a browsing mode. If you're in the grab and go mode, it's just an intervention that gets you in the
Mm.
way. And this is the challenge, because one of the biggest problems that you have is humans are fickle, inconsistent, and emotionally driven. So when Mr. Scott comes in and loves that personalized experience, and they go, what a lovely customer, we've got all this information. When he comes back next time, he's just got to grab something and get out. He could get quite frosty with you, going, yes, let me, no. I just want to grab this and go. Get out of my way. It's there. It's on the shelf. I want to get out. And the problem is AI will not tell you which mode I'm in. And I can also come in a good or bad mood depending on the weather, whether I've had a row with my partner, whether my football team won or lost. There are too many variables. So you can't predict how customers are going to be. Humans are this annoying variable that you cannot plan for. So what you need to do is be able to respond. And a lot of it is the classic open-ended questions, you know, rather than trying to impose, we're going to do this because we've got this new system. I'm going, I don't care, because I just want to buy that, you know. So it's not as straightforward as people think, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got to be used with some common sense and strike that balance between sort of, you don't want to be either irritating or a bit creepy for people, but you also want to make sure that it's always there. You know, if there is a, like you say, if someone does come in the right frame of mind to be making use of it.
Yes, that's right. You need the tools available when you deem them necessary or of use. Too many people try and impose a blanket route. You know, a lot of companies go, "This is our customer journey." It's not. There's hundreds of customer journeys. Even with the same customer in the same shop in the same week, will come in for different reasons. And you've got to understand that and just be ready to pivot and respond to all of them.
And while an AI is very, I would find that very difficult to sort of look at someone and see what kind of mood they're in or what kind of state they're in. That's something that actually I think probably most people, especially people trained in retail and sales, are probably very good at, and can very quickly take a look at someone and see, this is someone that looks like they want to engage, this is someone that really does not.
Exactly. And it would, I mean, maybe in 10, 20, 50 years, AI will have the ability to do that. But at the moment, it can't, because the source data is not available until the customer starts talking. They could have a smile on their face and hate being in the shop. And likewise, they could have a frown but love being in there, because the frown is associated to what's on their mind, not what's going on in the store. There are too many variables at the moment for technology to give us the direct answers.
Cool. Okay, so I guess maybe focusing slightly more on, there's lots and lots of talk of how AI can improve efficiency and productivity. Um, how have you seen AI's potential for retail staff in terms of efficiency and maybe productivity and customer service?
I mean, one that does spring to mind is the Nike app and how they utilize that in physical stores, particularly their flagship stores. You could go into one of their House of Innovation stores, or actually, I went to the Westfield Shopping Centre in West London, and I had a buzz in my pocket, and it was the Nike app going, "Hi, Ian, welcome to Westfield. We look forward to welcoming you to our new store." So they're
Mm.
using geofencing to know when I'd entered the shopping mall, and to then entice me to come into the store. And my mission was to actually go and visit the store anyway. So, you know, you can come into some of these bigger stores and you can then use the app to scan products, learn about them, make purchases. And what I also love as well is if you wanted to try something on in these big stores, you can select it and it already knows your size from buying history. So your size is already waiting for you. So as long as you haven't had an indulgent Christmas, it'll still fit. So I like that because one, it's two channels working together. Another 1 + 1 = 3. And it's a great way with that personal knowledge that you get from interaction on the app is translated into a better experience in store. But again, they're not imposing a route, because if you don't want to buy anything, they don't talk about stuff being available in the shopping, in the changing room at your size. If you're not scanning products to buy, then you don't have to. So I like the idea that it's there when you need it, but it adds a sort of greater experience for the customer if they choose to use it.
Oh, that sounds like a really good example of a kind of a practical tool that is available to you as a customer, um, that can kind of, like you say, can look at your behavior and choose maybe different paths to go down in terms of what you're looking to buy levels sort of look like.
Yeah, it's not imposing. You must do this. It'll sit there passively and do nothing if you don't want to, but it can offer a whole level of personalized services should you want to interact with them as well. And to me, that is the best use of technology because it's relevant when you need it and then passive when you don't.
And have you seen any examples of retail staff themselves in the store using tools like that, or using other kinds of tools?
Yes, there are companies like New Store that do sort of endless aisle technology handheld for customers. They're not the only ones around, but I've seen their technology in practice, and I love this idea that you have an iPhone as a member of staff. You can take payments directly, so if you don't, you can get rid of a cash till, or if it's busy, you can interact and intercept people and take payments directly. But also, if you're out of stock, then you can turn around and go, well, there's one of those in the store in the next town, so we can either get it delivered directly to your house or come back to this store so you can come and collect again and you can take returns. So the idea is you can then arm staff with technology that is easy to understand, because this is one of the other challenges as well, is that if it's difficult technology, the engagement and the compliance can reduce. So if it's easy for the staff to understand, they buy into it. And I've had several experiences of these situations where I was about to walk out the store and they've intercepted and they've kept the sale because they're able to go, we can have this to your house tomorrow morning. And I love that idea again. It's practical, functional, supportive technology that can help customers at those points when they need it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you don't ever. That's the last thing you want to do, is sort of lose that sale. You want to keep hold of that sale. You've got someone in, they've maybe bought something already. There's something else that, for whatever reason, isn't available then and there. You don't want that to be, oh, I'll go home and I'll order it online myself.
Yeah. I mean, particularly if you're a wholesaler, I remember the athletics director at Nike Town saying to me, someone spends an hour trying on shoes and then stands in front of me and buys them off Amazon. I don't care, because as the brand, you've just facilitated the sale. But using that sneaker example, if you're Sports Direct or JD Sport, you don't want that, because you may go to a competitor or direct to the brand, so you lose the sale. So that opportunity to maximize that moment is critical. Otherwise, you can lose revenue as well.
And people remember that kind of thing as well. Last time I went in there, they didn't have it, but they were able to get it delivered to my house the next day or get it delivered to the store. People remember that rather than remembering, I went in and they didn't have it, and so I went away and sorted it out myself.
Definitely, and I often say that fixing a problem can often strengthen the relationship more than if you never had a problem in the first place, because it's quite reassuring to know we know nothing goes perfectly all of the time. So if you see how a company can pivot to what you see as a potential problem and fix it very quickly and easily, you walk away with a better view than if it would have been in stock and you just bought it anyway, because that's frictionless and it doesn't really register. It's cool, but you go, these guys were thinking of me and they found a way to make it work for my convenience rather than for theirs. Then you end up with a benefit as well.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great. And I suppose that just maybe lastly, that we've talked a lot about um, ways that AI can be helpful to retail staff, can be helpful in terms of sales, customer service. There are always still going to be concerns from staff, about AI replacing their roles or replacing them in store entirely. How do you kind of go about addressing those kind of concerns?
I mean, the obvious thing is internal communications. I think when a new piece of technology comes in, it's critical that staff understand the benefit of this. They will inevitably be concerned. worry about their jobs. That's instinctive in humans when you see new technologies, when they talk about efficiencies, because that's normally at the expense of humans doing things. So they have to communicate that very well and engage people. I saw an interesting employment AI tool from a company called Axonify, where it's about staff training, and it's on an app. And the great thing here is, rather than, staff training can be onerous for the staff. It's important, and we all see the benefits of it. But I love the idea that there'll be little questions that were gamified, and every morning staff will get a different question based on what they're doing, where there's areas of development, and their historical sort of development. But it will be gamified, so you get scores, so you're competing against other people. And I love that idea of being able to draw the staff in a way that's fun, and they're learning as they're going along as well. And there's great opportunity to then start communicating what is going on with new ideas and new technology and the benefits as well. So I thought that was a particularly useful example of drawing in staff and getting them buying into technology, rather than almost sort of rejecting the opportunities for growth and development for fear of being put out to pasture.
Yeah. And I guess just a lot what we talked about already is that it is something that can be used to help you and to improve the information you have available or the services that you're able to offer to customers. But all of that still requires a human conduit, a human to facilitate that relationship and that interaction.
It is, and you got that triumvirate really of the physical space, the customer, but also the staff, and you need that connection between all three for the whole physical shopping experience to be beneficial to everyone. And staff, they are the living, breathing embodiment of your brand. And you go into an amazing store like Lush, where I think they have the best staff around, and you always leave with a smile on your face because of the people as much as the experience and the product. And that's where they can really make a difference, definitely.
All right, so just finally to wrap us up, this is a tricky question that most people tell me, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So could you just share with us one prediction that you have for what artificial intelligence might be able to do for us in 10 years' time?
I think in 10 years' time, first of all, we always massively over-exaggerate evolution. I have to say, Back to the Future, 2015 was supposed to be on hoverboards. But I think you will see a refinement of what is coming through. So I think the personalization will be more sophisticated and relevant. I think will have got a lot more efficiency around those back office logistical support activities. So there'll be huge efficiencies in stock availability, stock management, replenishment, awareness, data, understanding how shoppers are using the space. But also, I think from that AI point of view, the interpretation of that and translating it into newer solutions will get more refined. Maybe a half step towards that understanding the mood of the customer we were talking about earlier. I think that's probably a little further away, but then look what's happened in the last 5 years in the world. It's very difficult to predict. So I'd see more of a refinement of the knowledge and understanding and efficiencies is probably the most simplistic way of putting it.
Great, well, that sounds good.
I hope we get there anyway.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much, Ian, for speaking with me today and for sharing all your insights and your expertise. It's been really interesting to hear about you and your journey and to kind of dive into some of the ways AI has been transforming the retail industry and get lots of your advice and examples. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it.
All right, that concludes this episode of the AI Business Leadership Podcast. Keep an eye on our socials for more conversations with leaders in business and AI innovation, and we'll see you next time.